I think that the UK has been very complacent about the gas market, always assuming that gas would be available relatively cheaply if it was needed. And that's been compounded by the fact that the gas storage in the UK is so low. The government had an opportunity back in 2013 to bring forward more gas storage. In fact, a lot of it has been retired by private sector players who simply didn't see the incentive for having it there. And that without that gas storage, it means that the UK is particularly vulnerable to short-term changes in the spot market. And that's what we're seeing. And I'm afraid that's effectively the reason too why a lot of these smaller entrants into the UK domestic market have been collapsing. They were not encouraged enough by Ofgem, the regulator, to ensure that they had hedged their position. So they effectively had a commitment to sell at a particular price, but they hadn't locked in the supply at a price that was actually going to be profitable for them. And that inevitably has meant that as spot market prices have risen, they've gone under.
You know this as well as anyone. You've got an economics background. The fact of the matter is that hedging cost money and they were too greedy. But in terms of where we go next, this is what I'm interested in, because
it's too ignorant, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we see it on markets all the time as well, Chris. Nobody wants to take out a put option, and none of those guys want to hedge their product. What I want to go next with you on is the trillions of dollars needed for energy going forward. Now, whether it's energy storage, whether it's more gas capacity, the problem is, and I'm looking at what Mr. Carney and others have been saying, and the IEA and others, the fact of the matter is trillions of dollars are needed for the energy transition, but trillions of dollars are also needed to keep the lights on over the next 10 to 20 years. And if we spend the money on transition fuels such as gas, is the money going to be available for the renewables at the end of the day, for the technology and investment in renewables that is going to be necessary to make the ultimate leap?
Well, I think you're absolutely right that the one big issue that policymakers have not been addressing in this whole mess that's currently hitting the gas market, the electricity market, and coming up, I think, the oil market, is how to manage the transition carefully so that you don't see real bumps in the road. I don't think there's going to be a shortage of capital. I mean, the world is actually completely awash with cheap money. The shortage is the fact that there isn't adequate information, there isn't adequate certainty about the phasing, the sequencing of the reforms necessary to get us to zero carbon on the sort of timescales that the political classes worldwide are now saying is necessary. And that's absolutely right, that it is necessary, but they need to be much clearer for business in laying out a route map towards zero carbon, which